What a game. I don't even have my stats, unfortunately. All right. Georgia survives a huge scare from Missouri. Missouri outplayed UGA, especially in the first half. After pretty much the second half, Georgia dominated and played really, really well in the second half. Had 300 yards compared to, I think Missouri had just 100 in the second half. Georgia was able to run the football here in the second half, had over 100 yards rushing in the second half. The first half, though, man, what an absolutely disappointing start to this game, and really the entire game did not go as planned. And I came in last week, I said Kent State, they are not a good team. I was disappointed in how Georgia played, but this is even worse. A 26-22 win on the road to one of the worst teams, if not the worst team in the SEC, is a terrible look, especially with being number one in the country. I bet you Georgia will not be number one tomorrow. I didn't think UGA deserved to be number one, especially what happened last week. I thought Bama or Ohio State or even both deserved to be number one. There's nothing to change my opinion on that today. Ohio State beat Rutgers like 49-10. Alabama stomped Arkansas. Had a little bit of a hiccup in the third quarter, but other than that, they absolutely dominated them. Alabama killed them 49-26 on the road too. A very disappointing day for UGA. Again, in the red zone, Georgia, their first four red zone trips, four field goals. 4 field goals. Same thing as last week. Same thing with Samford. I don't understand it. It's just the execution. I personally felt like some of the play calls were right. I didn't understand the sweep on 3rd down and 1 at the 2-yard line. It didn't matter. We ended up getting the first down anyway. And then it led up to a touchdown. That was in the third quarter. Go back in the first quarter. Georgia couldn't do anything offensively. Then they had the fumble. Kendall Milton fumbled the ball. Then Missouri had a big play. The saving grace for UGA today was the fact that Missouri was just kicking field goals. Shout out to Missouri's kicker, man. He was on point. But an embarrassing performance today by UGA. Offensive line played terrible in the first half, really into the third quarter as well. Got completely dominated on the line of scrimmage in the first half. Gave up 1 touchdown on a miscommunication, but 5 field goals were given up today. Georgia gave up 3 red zone trips, I think, and they went Missouri went 2 field goals, 1 touchdown, if I'm not mistaken. Georgia had, I think, just 2 sacks. What was his name? Give Cook credit. He played well. Not good enough for Missouri to win, obviously, but I thought he played well. Drinkwitz and his Missouri Tigers team were ready to play today. And Georgia, again, coming out flat in the first half. It's not even just the first half. You go into the second half defensively, giving up a deep bomb. Was that to Mookie Cooper? It doesn't matter. And then Keely Ringo on a 3rd down and 17 grabs the wide receiver for Missouri, draws a 15-yard penalty. Sluggish performance yet again. I don't really understand this from UGA. Play calling isn't even, in my opinion, play calling really isn't the problem. It's the execution. Stetson Bennett, first half, 10 of 24 for 130 or something like that. It's not getting that done. He also had a fumble, a weird situation too. It was a read option play you either give it to the running back or don't. You don't just sit there and hold on to the ball and then give it at the last second. I mean, it's a read option. It's a 1 second bang, bang. Just fumbled the football. The Kendall Milton run, it was a 35-yard run, and then he just fumbled. That's uncanny and uncharacteristic from him. So there's that. So both those plays gave up, both turnovers gave up 10 points. So combined. So there's that. And then the fact that Georgia cannot do anything in the red zone. It's embarrassing. Yes, Georgia scored 14 points in the fourth quarter in the red zone, but the first 3 quarters we had 4 field goals, all in the red zone. And then we had penalties though. That's why a couple of our field goals were like from 40-something yards away. I told you this last week. Every time Georgia gets inside the 25, they cannot execute against these teams. It doesn't make sense to me. We were doing so well against Oregon, against South Carolina. Samford, we were hit or miss. We get all these yards, and look, we got 26 points on the board. Held Missouri under 300 yards. Georgia hasn't given up over 300 yards this year, I don't think. Oregon, I think, had 290 or something like that. Or they may have barely got over 300. And we're still giving up 22 points. Those turnovers were huge. The flags, the pass interference was huge. And then that one deep ball, Keely Ringo got burnt, absolutely burnt deep. Again, I think it was Mookie Cooper. Oh, and then I'm forgetting about that huge run by, I don't know, it was one of Missouri's backup running backs. Went 62 yards. Luckily for UGA, there was a false start leading to just 3 points for Missouri. So, Missouri's defense, give Missouri's defensive line a lot of credit today. I thought they played pretty well, mainly in the first half, which, heck, you go up 10 points on the number one team or a ranked team, and you're a huge underdog. Going into the half, you got to feel great about that. Georgia gave up just 6 points in the second half. That's a plus. Scored 20, right? They outscored Missouri 20-6 in the second half. But it's Missouri. Missouri's not a good team. Missouri barely just lost to Auburn. Auburn's not a good team. LSU, I will give Auburn some credit. They played really well today defensively against LSU. But this is the team we got to play next week, right? So that's a 3:30 game. It's I think it's on CBS too. It's not the primetime game because they're going to Alabama, which is I think that's the right call. I don't know if Max Johnson will be available, and I don't know if Bryce Young will be available. So we could have a backup QB matchup there. But no, we get Auburn next week. They have a really, really, really fast quarterback. He's not – I mean, he threw for over 300 yards today. At home against LSU, a really, really, really good defense. So we got to pay attention to that. But man, what a terrible game, honestly. One of the worst teams, if not the worst team in the SEC. Vanderbilt, I get it. Vanderbilt is getting better. Missouri seems to be declining, and this is the product that you put on the field on the road. I get it's a night game, but still, my goodness. Again, Jalen Carter got hurt again. I thought that should have been a flag, in my opinion. That was an illegal blindside block. There was no call. That's kind of a dangerous block, too, when you go below the waist. That was tough to see. I hope Jalen Carter is okay. I will say Warren Brinson, I thought, played well. He was clogging up the run game. He had, I think, 3 tackles for losses. But that on the defensive line, we had Nolan Smith get a sack. But on the defensive line, again, little to no pressure on the QB, especially in the first half. Again, Missouri does roll out a lot, so there is that. But just a disappointing performance as a whole by the Dogs, especially for Georgia standards. You beat this team 43-6 last year. a team that is honestly much worse than last year. You play them on the road. I get it. But there's no excuse to only winning this game by 4 points. It's just a very disappointing game. So I'm going to look through the comments. Who cares about AP polls? Yeah, AP polls are terrible. Missouri killed the O-line and pressured Stetson and killed all the 5-yard plays. Yeah, Missouri dominated our offensive line in the first half, at least. Georgia was able to run the ball in the second half. But yeah, that first half was one of the worst first halves I've ever seen from UGA. I thought last week was pretty bad when we played Kent State. I thought 2019 when Jake Fromm threw 3 interceptions and fumbled the ball against South Carolina, ended up losing that game. Somehow, some way, Georgia lost that game by 3. But that game was also at home. After South Carolina got embarrassed too. Missouri just had a heartbreaking loss too. You never know how some of these teams respond after losing like this. And with a coach that is on the hot seat, I guess I should have expected more from a team like Missouri. But again, not going down to the wire. This is ridiculous. Yeah. When you beat Oregon 49-3, I would understand that. But yeah, most disappointing win, and I'm praying for Bryce and Carter. Yeah, I agree with that, as well as Max Johnson. I hate injuries, man. Injuries suck. Bryce Young looked okay. I had a shoulder injury. I know how that feels. I didn't have it on my throwing shoulder, obviously, but I mean, shoulder injuries are terrible. Is that TikTok Chess Hall? Long time no see, buddy. How you doing, man? And I am disappointed as well. Yeah, I mean, and like you said, standards do matter. Like I said, we did not live up to standards today. Kirby Smart has come into UGA and risen our standards. We just won a national title. This is bad. I mean, this is a terrible look. I wonder if this foreshadows something in the future, which is what I've been saying. Georgia's going to lose a game, and people give me a lot of stuff, a lot of hate for this because I am a Georgia fan, but I'm keeping it real. I think Georgia's going to lose. I think Georgia's going to lose a game. We'll see. I told you that 4 weeks, that 4 week stretch that we have, Florida. We played Florida and Jacksonville. Then I think we played Tennessee. Yeah, then Tennessee, then at Kentucky, then randomly at Mississippi State. Mississippi State looked really, really good today. Their defense played well. Their offense was good for the most part. They had a special teams touchdown and a pick 6 at the end. Their offense scored 4 touchdowns. So, hey, against a really good Texas A&M defense, put a 40 on them. You can't be one-dimensional and expect to beat UGA, but Mississippi State could be the team to do it. We haven't had, and correct me if I'm wrong, I cannot remember the last team to beat UGA who had under 100 yards rushing. Did South Carolina have under 100 yards rushing? I don't think they did. I think they barely had over 100. But that's Mississippi State for you. They're going to be under 100 yards rushing. If they're going to beat UGA, they're going to have to throw for over 300. But yeah, I can't tell you who they're going to who we're going to lose to. I can tell you I'm pretty sure we're going to lose a game. As a UGA fan, I honestly want UGA to lose so we can be grounded again. If they keep winning like this, Bama will destroy us in a champ game. Well, it's not about losing or even just, winning like this. It's about preparing and being better next week. The standards need to be met. We play Auburn. Auburn coming off of another emotional game. They had an emotional win last week, an emotional loss today. They were better than LSU this week. They were not better than the Missouri last week. They somehow win the Missouri game, somehow lose this game. That's Brian Harsin for you. Georgia has to go into next week with a chip on the shoulder and beat the soul and life out of Auburn. There is no excuse. None. Auburn's offense is just as bad as Missouri's. Yet Georgia still somehow, some way gave up 22 points. And the people, I noticed this after the Georgia win last week. People were saying Kent State is a good team. Kent State has a sub 500 record, barely won today. It was our homecoming game because I actually do go to Kent State, which is ironic, but Kent State is not a good team. Not a good team at all. I don't understand what the point was with UGA fans saying that, well, Kent State's a good team. You know, it is what it is. No, they're not a good team. They almost lost to Ohio today at home on homecoming. They lost to Oklahoma by 30. Oklahoma just got absolutely destroyed on the road by TCU. Lost to Washington by 30. Washington just kind of got destroyed by UCLA. So Kent State's not a good team, and Missouri is not a good team. I don't want to hear this. Missouri is one of the worst teams in the SEC. Their offensive line is not good. Their quarterback is really not great. They have a couple good wide receivers, some decent running backs, and like I said, they have a couple good DBs. But their front seven has no depth. So the fact that they competed and played really, really well today is worrisome for the future. I'm telling you, Georgia's gonna lose a game. This is not happening. I mean, I hate to say this. This is not happening. Stetson Bennett is our QB. It's not like, yeah, we don't need to lose a game. It's not like Stetson Bennett is terrible. He's making the right reads. Today his execution was off. Good gosh. But I'm not getting into that argument because you probably should know who I want at QB. I've said it many times. I kind of want to see someone else. But anyway, but Stetson Bennett's been putting up. Stetson Bennett was putting up pretty good numbers so far. It's the play calling, but some of these wide receivers, especially today, Stetson Bennett was not sharp at all. He was throwing passes behind, too far, and our wide receivers were making some plays. Our wide receivers and tight ends. Darnell Washington showed out today. How about that? One of the catches that he made, that ball was severely overthrown. It was incredibly overthrown. He made the catch and somehow tried to hurdle some guy. Then back in the second quarter, Stetson Bennett throws it 20 yards above him. I mean, he's 6'8". He's literally right in front of you. I don't get that, but yeah, like I said, overthrew Darnell Washington. So, but hey, we cannot play like this. We keep doing it too. We did it last week. We won by 17 against Kent State. I don't know. And also, I don't know how UGA could still be number one after beating Kent State by 17. And I'm just pointing this out. The AP voters, 55 of them picked UGA to be their number one team. I don't know how UGA is going to be number one this week. They shouldn't be. And I'm not worried about rankings. I'm just pointing that out there. Feels like Mark Richt. Gosh, hate even thinking about that. Yeah, it does. And the weird thing is, the first 3 weeks, Georgia was killing everybody. I mean, it killed Oregon. It doesn't make sense to me. I couldn't tell you. Yeah. What is his name? I forgot his name. This kid was amazing. I don't know how he missed a 26-yarder last week against Auburn. And he also missed another kick that was like pretty short. He had a terrible week. Somehow, some way, he pulls this off. Of course, against us. Everyone these past 2 weeks, they've been giving us their best game. But hey, Monken's play calling. I'm going to ride with Monken. Monken's one of the best offensive minds in the country. His play calling has been good. It's just the execution. Stetson Bennett's fine at QB, and it happens. I'm not against Stetson Bennett. He's been making plays. I will say this. He is a little bit better than last year. I will say this. You can't blame Stetson Bennett for entirely on this game. I mean, he played really well in the second half. First half, it is what it is. But I really, really, really am disappointed with how our offensive line played in the first half more than how bad Stetson Bennett played. Because it is a little bit of both when you think about it. But, man, the offensive line got dominated by Missouri's front. To me, that doesn't make any sense. I can't tell you. Bama will be number 1 next week. That's fine. I think the media made them complacent. You can't listen. We're at a point. We just won a national title. We're at a point where we can't be thinking like this. I doubt that's the issue. I don't know what's wrong with UGA right now. We're going to get teams best every week. Yeah, I mean we just won a national title. That's why. Clemson won today, 30-20 now. Congratulations to them. I hate when they do this, though. This is another thing I hate. They storm the field after every ranked home win. People say they do it after every win. No, there's no way that – I mean, they might do it like – there's no way that they do that. They do this after every ranked home win, and it literally pisses me off because they don't get fined for this. I hate when they do this. And you know what? I guess that is kind of karma because NC State did it last year. But I still hate when they do that. It's ridiculous. What else do we got here? OU. Yeah, that was embarrassing. The first 3 weeks of college football, all I heard was how good Oklahoma's defense was. And I told people, it's not that it's good. It's the fact that, some of the offenses that they've been playing are pretty bad. And then we see what happened against Kansas State and TCU, 2 teams that I was pretty high on in preseason, I will say, not to bump my own chain. But man, I mean, 55-24 against TCU, that's embarrassing. Oh, my goodness. But anyway, when you play number 1, you have nothing to lose except the game. Mizzou made 0 cents. The fact that Missouri competed in this game literally makes no sense to me. I've been saying this all year, and just because Georgia played them or just because they played us really close doesn't mean I'm going to change my opinion on this. Missouri is not a good team. They're not going to make a bowl game. They'll be lucky to win an SEC game. Vanderbilt will give them a game. South Carolina South Carolina's going to beat them. I'm sorry. The only shot, like I said, that they had is probably against Vanderbilt, and I think Vandy might beat them. Just saying. Man. I mean, it's just so disappointing when you have so much high expectations. Yes, we are 5-0. Okay, woo. But that's a first down for Arizona State. Look at them showing up today. That's another team. USC. They struggled last week. They should have lost to Oregon State. They got lucky to win that game. That was a miracle win. Now a team that has no head coach is moving the ball on them, about to tie the game 14 up. So anyway, I'm getting off a tangent. I have so many TVs on right now. But this just so disappointing. And they blitz just about the whole game. Well, you got to get pressure. They were sending. You're right, especially on third downs. It was literally like we're playing Todd Grantham. It's like we're playing Todd Grantham again. But no, they were pressuring and they were getting so much push. Their defensive line was playing well, like I said, in the first half. Not so much in the second half. But in the first half specifically, that was one of the worst first halves I've ever seen UGA play. Again, played pretty bad last week. We had way more turnovers. Didn't we have 4 turnovers in the first half? Ladd McConkey fumbled twice. Well, him dropping a touchdown basically was a turnover because we didn't score on that possession anyway. But getting back to that, just how bad Georgia played, especially in the offensive line. We had 2 drives in the first quarter, did nothing with the ball. I mean, did nothing. Stetson sailed a couple passes, rush game. Literally, we rushed for 20 yards in the first half. 20 yards. 20. Embarrassing against Missouri. Again, over the past couple of seasons, Missouri has had the worst rush defense in all of the SEC. There was a point in time last year that their rush defense was giving up 320 yards per game. Then they play us, believe it or not. Then they play us. The rush defense steps up. They only gave up 150 to us. Shout out to them. This was last year, but we beat them 43-6. So, and the rush defense their defense as a whole isn't even that good. How did we win? I'll tell you this much. Talent. Talent will get you so far, especially when it comes down to these close games. Yes, play calling does matter, but when you have a much better roster, more depth, more in the tank, really, because we controlled the second half, I didn't think we were going to lose this game. I'm just going to be honest with you, especially when we went into the fourth quarter. Went down, got that 4th down and 1, which honestly I was so worried we would not get. We got it, then score a touchdown, barely. I knew we were going to win that game. I really knew we were going to win this game. But hey, Tennessee has the second best chance to win the SEC. Georgia and Alabama could both lose to Tennessee. How Alabama let Arkansas back in the game entering the fourth quarter and how Georgia's offense first half. Tennessee has I wouldn't say they have the second best chance. The second best chance I'm saying is us. I think best chance is Alabama. The third best chance might be Tennessee. The problem is Tennessee needs to start playing better defensively. Yes, they only give up 19 points per game. I get it. That's better than last year in their first 4 games. But they played Akron and Bowling Green, 2 of the worst offensive teams I've ever seen. Those teams are just not that good. Let's just keep that as it is. But saw that against Florida. Gave up like 500 yards to Anthony Richardson. And then against Pittsburgh, pretty much gave up the game towards the end, except they did score. I think that was Cedric Tillman that scored in overtime for Tennessee. But their offense is really, really, really good. They'll be able to move the ball on us, especially with how bad, not how bad, but how sluggish I think our defensive line has been playing. I have not really been super impressed because, listen, I saw what I saw last year with our defensive line being one of the best I've ever seen in my life. Our defense as a whole, one of the best I've ever seen in my life. Gave up just 10 points per game. And that is including only giving up 41 points to Alabama. So we played 15 games, 10.8. That's like, 160 points. Well, about 60 of those were to Alabama, one of the best offenses in the country. So, hey, it is what it is. Thank you for asking for second place. No, I'm not asking for no second place. I'm just being honest. I'm being honest. Do you think Georgia would beat Alabama tomorrow? No, I don't. Now Bryce Young going down actually does make it interesting. I don't think we're losing Tennessee either. I don't either. I just think we are gonna lose a game. Right now, I said it was going to be to Mississippi State in the offseason. In the preseason, technically, whatever, offseason. I don't know who's it going to be to. Kentucky, I'm not saying – they have somewhat of a chance because Will Levis, I think, is solid. But the problem with Kentucky is they are too reliant on the run game. And you can't be unbalanced against UGA. Just saying. You have to be pretty balanced. Hold on, let me get there. Zach, you could say the exact same thing for Tennessee. They let Florida all the way back into the game last week. Yeah, Tennessee. I'm going to be real. I don't think Tennessee knew how to handle that. Um, uh, that was a weird ending. Florida, I'm not. Florida kind of outplayed Tennessee, if we're being honest. The problem with Florida was they went for it on 4th and 1 at like midfield or something, and back in the first quarter, on like a 4th and 2 at like the 7, they kicked a field goal or something dumb. It was like kind of backwards. I don't really understand. Billy Napier he's an interesting head coach. I'll tell you that much. But good for Tennessee. They had a bye week too, because if they played Tennessee, yeah, talking about Tennessee, if they played LSU today on the road, that would be pretty hard, especially after an emotional win. They get LSU next week. I got Tennessee winning on the road. How about that? Start 5-0. Ooh. But we're still young on defense, and we knew that our defense wasn't going to be like last year. Yeah, it's still good. And again, I'm not blaming the defense. I'm just saying our team as a whole has been very sluggish and disappointing. Has anyone really been honestly happy with what has happened these past 2 games? No. The first 3 games were great. The Samford game, Georgia still had over 500-something yards, getting down inside of 25, kicking field goals. I mean, it is what it is, guys. We just need to execute better. And here's the thing. Monken has his work cut out. Yeah, the execution needs to be better. I like some of these play calling in the red zone. Well, we go back to did we throw like a slip screen? I will. This is my one pet peeve: throwing a slip screen on 3rd and 15, going for a field goal, down 19-9 in the third quarter. Why not run that on 2nd down? You probably get similar yardage, make 3rd down more manageable. But no, see, that was my one issue with the play calling in the red zone. Todd Monken, like I said, he's one of the 5 best offensive minds in the country. I am so thankful we have him. He's really elevated the Georgia offense. So there is that. Kentucky had the game won until Will Levis fumbled. That was a tough side. I picked Kentucky to win. I wasn't able to film my live predictions that I usually do because I was sick. But hey, I think they fumbled twice in the red zone, right? And then they had the safety. They had 2 missed extra points and a missed field goal. Kentucky, they got outgained against Ole Miss, but they really should have won that game. Oh, man. But yeah, a couple more minutes here. They're practically on people they should respect. Yeah. But it's good to win games like this that prepares for tougher games down the road. Yeah, I see what you're saying. It's just I want to win 49-3 or 48-7. Look what Ohio State's been doing. Their first game of the year, they won 21-10 against Notre Dame. They turn it around, beat everybody by combined basically average, like 50-15 or something like that. How about we do that? How about Alabama? Yes, they had their one game against Texas, beating UL Monroe 63-7. Last week, they won 55-3 against Vandy. And then today, going on the road, beating a top 25 team by 23 points is impressive. It's impressive, especially when your starting Heisman candidate quarterback goes down. A lot of people were disappointed in how Alabama's defense played. I mean, so what? Literally, so what? They won by 23 points with the backup. I mean, come on. Yeah, I would like to win games like Oregon. I'm still like kind of shocked that our best win so far this year was against Oregon and how bad we beat them 49-3. I didn't even think Georgia would cover that game, to be completely honest. And Oregon is a really, really, really good team. They might win the Pac-12. They don't even have to go through USC until the Pac-12 title game. They don't have to go through UCLA. They do have to go through Washington and Utah. That's it. If they go 1-1 in those games, they're going to make the Pac-12 title. So that was a great win. The Big Ten. The Big Ten is a very good conference. I don't know if the Big Ten is the second best because the Pac-12 and ACC. Before I say ACC, but the Pac-12 has been playing really well. How far will we drop when no one cares about rankings? Number 3. I will be stunned if Georgia's number 1. I wouldn't be surprised if UGA's number 2. They like to put Bama ahead of Ohio State. Bama deserves to be right now. I would say, yeah. After last week, I would go Ohio State above Bama. So, you could switch them. But I say put UGA at number 3. Clemson deserves to be over Michigan, in my opinion. I don't think they deserve to be over us because, once again, we have a very good, impressive win against Oregon and South Carolina. South Carolina right now is 3-2. They have a big game this week, or technically next weekend, my bad, against Kentucky on the road. That's a night game. I think number 3 is a fair spot for UGA. USC's playing right now. For some reason, Arizona State is giving them a good game. Arizona State is terrible. I'm kind of hoping Arizona State keeps this game close to make me feel better, I guess. I don't know. But hey. But the SEC is supposed to be a tough conference. We're not going to blow out teams in our conference every week. No, Michigan's undefeated. With this, I get what you're saying, but look what Alabama's doing. 55-3 against Vandy. Missouri, a team that's equal to Vandy. Honestly, we barely beat them. So, we'll see next week. For the last couple of minutes, I'll just talk about Auburn. I expect us to beat Auburn. By how much? I don't know. I really can't tell you. This is kind of the disappointing factor in which there's 2 UGA teams I've seen. The first 3 games and the last couple of games. Or really the first, the game against Oregon and game against South Carolina. There's not a team in the country right now that would beat UGA if they come out like they did against Oregon or South Carolina. But with the past couple of games, if Georgia comes out against Auburn, Georgia will probably win. This is like Georgia's C game or D game, not an F, because if Georgia plays like an F, they'll lose. Let's be real. Any team plays in an F tier would lose. If Alabama played, if Alabama played like this today, played like we did against Missouri, they would have lost. So Michigan is undefeated. They're 5-0. But hey, what was that with Archie? What did I say? I said, well, I think Arkansas is a good team. I think they'll go 8-4. Let's see. The SEC West is really, really good. Texas A&M, a lot of people like to hate on Texas A&M. Texas A&M, had that fluke loss to Appalachia State. Then they had a fluke win against Arkansas. Texas A&M is probably going to get to 8-4, which will be kind of funny. At worst, I could see them going 7-5. They have a big game next week against Alabama. A lot of people think they're going to get killed. I don't know. I really don't know. It really depends on Bryce Young. If Bryce Young's playing, A&M's going to get killed. I'll tell you that much. And as well as Max Johnson. If Max Johnson plays, A&M has a shot, I guess. A&M was without Chase Lane today, and of course, Anaya Smith. Losing Anaya Smith was devastating. I mean, you have A-Chain and Anaya Smith. That's been your offense all year. You lose one of them, you're just relying on A-Chain. A-Chain can't do it all. the surrounding guys. Moose Muhammad stepped up, I would say, today. But are you going to get that week in, week out? No, he's very inconsistent. I'll tell you that much for A&M. The East is stronger. I don't know if I can agree with that now. Kentucky just lost to Ole Miss. Ole Miss is a really good team. They're better than what I said. They're a defensive team. They are not an offensive team like we think Lane Kiffin has been. And that's been ever since after the Auburn game of last year. This Ole Miss defense has been really, really good. In fact, since that game, they've been giving up about 17, 18 points per game. So, hey. Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't think Texas A&M is going to win that game. I'm saying that I think it's going to be closer than what people think. The spread on that game is probably going to be Bama minus 20-something. I would probably take the Aggies. But, hey, I've been kind of wrong lately with spreads, especially at UGA now. I'm like I took UGA. Let me think. I think I'm 1-4 against the spread when picking UGA. So next week I might have to just say screw it and take Auburn. I don't know. I'm not actually betting these, but when I do my predictions. Saban will play Young injured. Gosh, I hope he doesn't do that. That is a terrible idea. Chance to get him even worse. But anyway, closing this one out. Georgia wins 26-22 against a bad Missouri team. Georgia disappointed. Played really, really bad. That's just the bottom line. Plays Auburn next week. I expect the Dogs to roll, but I said that last week, and this is what we get. So I don't know what to expect. I'll have a hopefully a live show on Friday. Come out, give me your SEC predictions. I would like to do a Big Ten as well, but I don't know if I had time for that. Thank you guys for watching. Go Dogs as always. Hopefully we get things situated and start to look like we did earlier on. But thank you guys for watching. I'll see you Friday. Peace out, guys.